The message came through while I was standing in the bridal suite, pinning my daughter's veil with shaking fingers. A Facebook post. A group selfie. Neon lights behind them. Slot machines. My parents. My siblings. Their spouses. All smiling in Las Vegas. On my daughter's wedding day. I opened the comments without thinking and typed, "So, you all left town today." The reply came from my father less than a minute later. We had no interest in taking care of a child who had become nothing but a burden. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. The room around me was quiet except for the hum of the air conditioner and the faint sound of my daughter laughing down the hall, unaware. My name is Evelyn Hart. I'm 42. For as long as I can remember, I've been the reliable one. The one who stayed close. The one who handled emergencies, paid quiet bills, picked up calls at midnight. When my parents downsized, I handled the paperwork. When my brother lost his job, I wired money without asking questions. When my sister needed help with childcare, I rearranged my life. And now, on the one day I asked them all to show up for my child, they had chosen slot machines over her. I typed back slowly, carefully, my thumb trembling once before studying. "Perfect, because your retirement fund." I stopped. Deleted the rest. My reflection stared back at me from the phone screen. Older than I felt, eyes dull but alert. There was a faint coffee stain on the sleeve of my dress from earlier that morning. I hadn't even noticed. Down the hall, my daughter called out, "Mom, are you okay?" I locked the phone, slid it into my purse, and walked toward her with a smile I had perfected over decades. But something inside me had shifted. That message from my father wasn't just cruelty. It was permission. And as I took my daughter's hands and told her she looked beautiful, I already knew this wedding would mark two beginnings, hers and the end of everything they thought they were entitled to. I just hadn't finished the sentence yet. The ceremony passed like a dream I watched through glass. I smiled when I was supposed to. I clapped at the right moments. I stood beside my daughter while she said her vows, my hands folded tight around the small silver watch she'd given me years ago. The one she said made her feel safe, knowing I was always on time. The clasp was loose now. It clicked softly every time I moved. At the reception, people kept asking where my family was. "Oh, they had a last-minute thing," I said, light and practiced. I'd perfected that tone long ago, the one that smoothed over disappointment without making anyone uncomfortable. My daughter didn't press. She was glowing, wrapped in joy and white silk and hope. I refused to stain it. I checked my phone in the bathroom between speeches. The group chat was alive. Photos of cocktails. A blurry video of my father laughing too loudly. My sister captioned it, "Finally free for a few days." A champagne emoji followed. Free from what? I leaned against the sink, cold porcelain biting into my palms. Memories stacked themselves without my permission, me missing work to drive my mother to appointments, me covering a mortgage payment just for a month, me being told, "You're strong. You can handle it." I had handled it. Quietly. Reliably. Invisibly. During the mother-daughter dance, my daughter whispered, "Thank you for never leaving me." The words landed deeper than she knew. Later that night, after the last guest left and the staff began folding chairs, I sat alone at a corner table and opened my banking app. The same one my parents had asked me to manage years ago because you're better with details. The watch clicked again as I scrolled. Accounts. Trusts. Automatic transfers I had set up myself, small, regular, invisible. Their retirement wasn't a savings account. It was me. I typed the sentence I'd left unfinished earlier, not in a comment this time, but in my notes. Perfect, because your retirement fund ends tonight. I saved it. And for the first time all day, I let myself stop smiling. I didn't sleep. The hotel room was too quiet once my daughter and her new husband left, the silence thick with the echo of everything I'd swallowed for years. I lay on the bed fully dressed, the silver watch resting on my chest, ticking too loud for something so small. At 3:12 a.m., my phone vibrated. My mother. "Did you see the photos? Vegas is crazy," face with tears of joy. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed, then turned it back on. My hands were steady now. That surprised me. By morning, I was at my kitchen table with a legal pad, a pen that skipped on the first stroke, and a cup of coffee gone cold. I wrote everything down: dates, amounts, promises made casually and never repaid. Not out of anger. Out of clarity. They had never forced me. They had simply assumed. Around noon, my brother called. I let it ring twice before answering. "Hey," he said, voice light. "Dad's car got declined at the hotel. Probably a glitch. Can you check on that?" I looked at the watch. The second hand moved, obedient, precise.
"There's no glitch," I said.
A pause. "What do you mean?" I replied evenly. "The transfers stopped last night." He laughed, sharp and dismissive. "You're kidding." "I don't joke about money," I said. That part was true. Especially not money that isn't mine to give anymore. The line went quiet. Then his voice lowered. "Mom's going to panic." I closed my eyes and pictured my daughter's face when she said thank you for never leaving me. "I know," I said. "She should." After I hung up, my phone lit up again, missed calls stacking like dominoes. I didn't answer any of them. I folded the legal pad, slid it into my purse, and stood by the window as rain began tapping the glass, slow and deliberate. For years, I'd been the safety net. They were about to feel what it was like to fall, not suddenly, but one careful second at a time. By evening, the calls turned into messages. My mother's came first. "Evelyn, this isn't funny. Your father is humiliated at the front desk." Then my sister. "What kind of person does this to family?" Then my father. No greeting. Just, "Fix it." I read them all from the same chair where I used to help my daughter with homework, the watch resting beside my phone like a quiet witness. Its glass was scratched, a hairline crack from the day I dropped it rushing into the ER with my mother years ago. I'd never replaced it. Neither had she thanked me. At 8:47 p.m., a new photo appeared in the group chat. My father standing alone in a hotel lobby, red-faced, arms crossed too tightly. Someone had tagged him with the caption, "When the ATM suddenly has boundaries." I felt something loosen in my chest.
Not joy.
Not revenge. Relief. He called seconds later. I answered. "You embarrass me," he said, voice low and shaking. "After everything we've done for you." I let the silence stretch. In the background, I could hear the casino bells, cheers, the sound of other people winning. "What you've done," I said slowly, "was take. What I did was give. There's a difference." "You owe us," he snapped. I glanced at the watch. The second hand kept moving unbothered. "I owed you gratitude," I said. "I paid that for years. I don't owe you my future." His breath came hard through the phone. "You're really doing this? On your daughter's wedding day?" I closed my eyes, seeing her smile, the way she squeezed my hands before walking down the aisle. "No," I said. "You did this on her wedding day." I just stopped cleaning it up. When the call ended, the rain outside picked up, louder now, washing the street clean. For the first time, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt earned. The next morning, my mother showed up at my door. No call. No warning. Just her standing on the porch with yesterday's mascara smudged beneath her eyes and a cardigan she'd borrowed from me years ago and never returned. The watch clicked softly as I opened the door. "We need to talk," she said, already stepping inside like she still owned the place. She sat at the kitchen table and folded her hands the way she used to before asking for favors she'd later forget. "Your father didn't sleep," she began. "This stress isn't good for his heart." I poured myself coffee and didn't offer her any. The mug chipped my lips slightly, a small sting, real enough to keep me present. "You didn't sleep either," I said. "You were in Las Vegas." Her mouth tightened. "That's not the point." I finally sat across from her. "The point is you left. All of you." And when I noticed, he called me a burden. She waved a hand. "He didn't mean it like that." "He typed it," I replied. With both hands. Her eyes flicked to the watch on the table. "You're really going to throw everything away over one comment?" I leaned back. I didn't throw anything away. I stopped holding it alone. She inhaled sharply. You always take things so personally. That almost made me laugh. I took responsibility personally, I said. I took care personally. I took silence personally. Her voice softened, a tactic I knew well. If this ever happened to you, say same in the comments, she said mockingly, then stopped herself. You hear how dramatic that sounds? I stood and picked up the watch, fastening it around my wrist. The clasp clicked secure for once. I hear how tired I am, I said. She left without hugging me, without apologizing. When the door closed, the house didn't feel emptier. It felt lighter, like something heavy had finally decided to stay gone. By afternoon, the story had escaped the family chat. An aunt I barely spoke to tagged me in a post about respecting elders. A cousin messaged, "You could have handled this privately." As if silence hadn't been my private language for years. I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I opened the folder on my laptop labeled Household, a name so boring it had kept everyone from asking questions. Inside were spreadsheets, scanned documents, and emails going back almost a decade. Transfers labeled temporary. Notes that said just until things stabilize. Nothing had ever stabilized. It had simply settled on my shoulders. The watch ticked while I worked, steady and faithful. At 4:06 p.m., my father sent a final message. No anger this time. We can talk when you calm down.
I smiled at that.
A small, private curve of the mouth. I replied with an attachment. A formal letter.
Clean.
Polite. Boring in the way that scares people more than yelling ever could. It outlined the end of my financial involvement, effective immediately. No accusations. No emotions. Just dates and numbers, and my signature at the bottom. His response came 3 minutes later. What is this? I watched the typing dots appear.
Disappear.
Reappear. You can't do this. I locked the phone and stood, walking to the window. The rain had stopped. The street looked freshly washed, like the city had decided to forgive itself. The watch clasp loosened again, just slightly. I tightened it. They had mistaken my consistency for consent. My phone buzzed once more, this time for my daughter. Mom, are you okay? People are saying things. I typed back, I'm more than okay. I'm finally being honest. She replied with a single heart. I rested my forehead against the cool glass and breathed. They thought this was about money. They hadn't realized it was about inheritance, not of wealth, but of roles. And for the first time, I wasn't passing mine down. The apology came wrapped in logistics. My father asked to meet at a diner halfway between our houses, a neutral place with sticky menus and burnt coffee, the kind of place where people think truth is safer because it's public. I arrived early and chose a booth by the window. The watch ticked softly against the tabletop. He looked smaller when he walked in, older. The confidence he wore so easily at slot machines didn't survive daylight. You've made your point, he said, sliding into the seat across from me. We can move forward now. I didn't open the menu. I'm not here to negotiate, I said.
His jaw tightened.
You're punishing your own family. I watched a waitress refill a sugar dispenser at the counter, grains spilling, being swept away without comment. I'm correcting a pattern, I replied. Punishment implies anger. This is adjustment. He sighed like he was the tired one. Your mother's anxious. Your sister's scared. Your brother is an adult. I finished. So are you. Silence stretched. The watch clicked through it, marking time neither of us could reclaim. Finally, he said, if you reinstate the accounts, we can apologize. Properly. I met his eyes then. Really looked at him. You called me a burden, I said. On my daughter's wedding day. His mouth opened.
Closed.
I was upset. I nodded. So was I. The difference is I didn't type it. He leaned back, frustration bleeding through. What do you want? I slid the watch off my wrist and placed it between us, its scratched face catching the light. I want distance, I said. And accountability. In that order. He stared at the watch like it might accuse him. When he stood to leave, he didn't touch it. As he walked out, the doorbell rang once, sharp and final. I sat there a moment longer, listening to the ticking. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for them to change. I already had. I didn't hear from them for weeks. The silence felt intentional this time, not the cold kind meant to punish, but the careful distance people take when they realize the rules have changed and they don't know the new ones yet. I let it stay that way. On a quiet Sunday morning, my daughter came over with leftover wedding cake wrapped in foil. We ate it at the kitchen counter with forks too small and laughed about nothing important. At one point, she reached for my wrist.
"Your watch," she said.
"It's ticking louder." I listened. It always had. I'd just been too busy absorbing other noises to notice. A letter arrived the following week.
Handwritten.
My mother's handwriting wavered where it used to glide. No excuses. No justifications. Just an acknowledgement, brief, imperfect, human, that they had relied on me without seeing me. It wasn't everything, but it was something. I didn't respond right away. I took my time. I learned how to sit with quiet without filling it. I adjusted my budget, my calendar, my expectations. I stopped being the emergency contact for people who only remembered my number when something went wrong. At my daughter's thank you brunch, someone asked if my family would be coming to visit soon. Eventually, I said, and meant it on my terms. That night, I placed the silver watch back on my wrist, tightening the clasp myself. It clicked into place and stayed there. Time hadn't healed anything, but it had revealed it. I didn't destroy my family. I didn't humiliate them publicly. I didn't shout or threaten or beg. I simply stepped out of a role they'd written for me, without asking. And in doing so, I gave my daughter a quieter inheritance than money, a woman who knows when to walk away and how to stand still without collapsing.